Sometimes it's nice just hanging out on a Friday night with your best friend. For today, we made it all the way through the entire Child's Play series, and today we are talking the very last, the last one of the original series, the third one directed by Don Mancini, Cult of Chucky. And Don Mancini is not the only person coming back in this film. You got Fiona Dorff coming back as Nica. You got Brad Dourif coming back as Chucky. You have Jennifer Tilly coming back as Jennifer Tilly, Tiff, that thing. And then you also have my man, Alex Vincent, coming back as Andy Barclay. I'm so happy that he's back in this movie. I was thinking that all we were going to get was that little after credit scene in Curse, but we didn't. We got more of him, and got a lot more of him, really, than I anticipated to have in this film, and I loved it. But we're going to pump the brakes just a second, just a little background on the story. This picks up 4 years after the events of Curse. Now, Nica was tried and found basically criminally insane after everything that happened in Curse of Chucky, and now she is in the psychiatric system that has been teaching her and telling her and convincing her for the last 4 years that she did it. She killed her whole family and orphaned Alice. We know that's not the case, and we know, last we saw, Alice is a Chucky. We'll get into all that. They explain it. Kind of loosely, but they do. They explain it. But in picking up 4 years after that after credit scene where Andy seemingly kills Chucky, you have 4 years of Tiffany and Chucky figuring out a way to get into this psychiatric hospital where Nica is being held. And once she's moved from maximum to medium, Chucky and Tiffany use all their little voodoo-y tools to their disposal. There's a new one, and it's weak as all shit, but there is a new one. And it looks like Chucky might be able to tie up more than one loose end. Nica and Andy Barclay. Again, this is a straight to stream, straight to home, straight to not a theater release for a Chucky series, which sucks, and it's awesome that we finally got a new theater Chucky release. But as far as we knew, this was going to be the end of it for quite a while. The film picks then right up with Andy Barclay. And I love the hell out of that, because if you've seen my 1 and 2 and Curse reviews, you know that I'm a big fan of Andy Barclay. Big fan of Alex Vincent as Andy Barclay, more specifically. And while we did get a little bit of backstory of what's going on with Andy in Curse, we get even bigger backstory of what's going on with Andy, and the fact that really he hasn't been allowed to move on. He's tried to move on, but because of the age of the internet, the world isn't really letting himself go. But then when you really get him home, you find out he's not trying to move on as much as he thought, because he has Chucky's head that we thought he blew off, nailed and chained to a board in a safe behind his Kent Academy sweatshirt. Easter eggs galore. I love the hell out of it, and I like the fact that Andy's getting revenge. All these years of torment, and he gets to torment Chucky. He gets to burn him, but at the same time, you have that little line that I opened this video with where he talks about there's nothing like being home on a Friday night with your best friend. There's a twisted kind of relationship there that because Andy isn't able to move on, Chucky kind of is his best friend. That's all he has. He has this cabin and fucking up this doll, which I'm for. I'm glad he gets that. I'm glad he gets to burn Chucky and put nails in his head and fuck with him. Because Chucky talks about it in Curse. That he didn't kill Andy Barclay, but he killed his childhood. And he said it in like this snide kind of dickish way, and fuck him for that. But I'm glad that Andy gets his revenge mostly in this film. The film then moves from Andy's empowering, awesome start to Nica's helplessness. I like the little stark contrast there. But then they go into Nica, and really they focus on her for a while. And what we see is that through this process of her being psychiatrically admitted, that they have convinced her that she did everything. And what I like is that in this film, there's a recurring theme of messing with the psyche. You get some of the hypnosis stuff, you get the crazy people, and what I liked about the fact that you have such a array of cast that are crazy people is, one, once Chucky pops on the scene, Chucky can move. He can move anywhere he wants because nobody is going to believe anybody, which is great. Because really, one of my favorite parts in 1 and 2 is the fact that, and as messed up as it is, that Chucky frames Andy. He frames people. He gets people to think that other people did stuff because he's just a doll. What he's able to do in this one is he has an entire group of people that he is able to mess with because nobody is going to believe them. Which leads to some very cool kills and leads to some very cool moments, also some very funny moments.
Don't be afraid.
What?
I'm not going to hurt you.
You fucking with me?
But really, it adds a cool element that we really didn't get in the last ones. Because you have Nica really in. She seems like, yeah, I did it. I blamed her on this doll. I'm a crazy person. And then the doll shows up. And then it like really shows up and all that breaks. Immediately breaks. And shit just goes crazy from there. And once we were introduced to this quite varied group of individuals that have different backstories, have different mental illnesses, one that sticks out is Multiple Malcolm. Now, aside from the fact that he has multiple personalities and that plays out through the course of the film, and you even kind of think that he might actually have gotten possessed by Chucky at one point, what's so interesting about Multiple Malcolm is, in watching Curse and then Cult, the same actor that plays Multiple Malcolm played Officer Stanton in the last film. The same Officer Stanton that got his throat sliced by Tiffany. He's dead, and they recast him into this film.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
I mentioned before that this film has more mind play than a lot of the other films do. And while there is a lot of physicality, there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of gruesomeness, there's a lot of craziness. I noticed the ongoing theme of messing with people's minds. You have Tiffany show up, and Tiffany shows up and tells Nica that Alice is dead. Completely dead. We find out why she's dead, that they got bored with her, but that Alice is dead, and tears her down and says, hey, you have this, she used this as a coping mechanism after the fact of all, you killing everybody. We thought maybe you should have this. And that introduces two dolls into the mix, which then you start to get this kind of, okay, who's who, who's what. Again, they explain it later, but you get kind of which doll is Chucky, which doll is just this good guy doll. And you get the way he's able to flow through the group is awesome. Because then you also have Claire, who is completely against everything that goes on. Then you have Madeline, who she's probably the craziest fucking person of all of them. You have Madeline, who is keeping one of the dolls and trying to act like it's her baby boy, Joshua. We're going to get to that kill, because that kill is worth noting. It's super fucked. And since we're talking about the dolls, real quick, we're going to talk about the look of Chucky. Now, you have these two dolls that are working in the space of this hospital. And they look exactly like 1988. Both of them do. They look great. But then you get them in motion when everything starts to go crazy, or really when you get the first one in motion. For some reason, the original look of Chucky gets thrown out the window. It's almost like they couldn't decide how to make the original doll move again, even though they've done it. We've seen it. We've seen it in 1 and 2 and 3. We've seen the original doll move. And move pretty well, and look pretty good while doing it. But then you move to Cult, and he doesn't look good. It's like they took the doll aspects away from the face, and they couldn't decide on what they wanted to do, so they just tried to make it look more actual human. And it looks really off, and it looks really bad, and they don't try to fix it at all. But when he goes back to not doing anything, he looks like 1988 again. And then he goes back, and in fact, the look in this film of Chucky is shit. It really is. That's not to say that the animatronics aren't done well. If you've seen my other reviews, you know that I favor practical effects when it comes to moving Chucky and moving him through the space, having him talk, all that. I am for, even as goofy as it might look, I am for him being practically done. They do that throughout the entire movie, and I absolutely love it, especially in the scene where he is walking by Angela going to kill Nica. And they have their whole conversation. He goes, you fucking with me? Love that scene. Love that whole conversation. Because then you also get the hint that he's gonna play on the craziness and being able to move through the space. But also, as he's walking down the hallway, that was practically done. And it looked like a doll that was supposed to be walking. Thank God they didn't use that horrible CG that they used for Barb's kill in Curse. Well done, Don. You gave a shit for most of this film. Another part of this film that I really liked is the reveal that shit is fucky. And what I mean by shit is fucky is that it's not just one doll. Now, we know going in, Cult of Chucky, there's going to be some kind of multiple aspect to it. We get it. It's a group idea. Cool. But when we first get the idea, if you're just watching this straightforward for what it is, you have Madeline outside with Chucky at the grave of Angela. And he does the middle finger. But then you have Claire go to throw the other good guy doll down the chute. And you're like, okay, she's just going to throw it down and it's going to be no big deal. And then it bites her. And if you're paying attention, you're like, fuck. And that leads us to one of my favorite kills of this film. Now, I know that it's kind of been done before. It was kind of done in Bride when Tiffany throws the champagne bottle, breaks the mirror, and shards fall down, all that. We get that same kind of kill with Claire. What I like about this one, and this is kind of a twisty kind of way to think about it, but what I like about it is that you have Claire paralyzed, and all she can do is kind of look. And she sees Chucky, and all she can do is hear her heartbeat going up. And Chucky's just like, I'm gonna have fun with this. Pops the thing, throws it through the glass, and she gets decapitated. I like the fear building in that. I like that it's not just a decapitation scene. There's extra elements to it. There is a peril. There is a unsettlingness. If you think about being in that situation, holy shit, that is horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And then the decapitation's done well. Overall, great kill. Great kill. We're not going to go really into him, but just know, I'm very happy that Dr. Foley got killed the way he did. That guy's a sick fuck, and I'm glad there's just absolute justice. And with that first kind of hypnosis scene, you have Chucky possibly kind of have killed Dr. Foley. Doesn't actually kill Dr. Foley, but then we get the idea that there are two Chuckys. We are told, and we hear the first new chant, Dade Boku Dembella. We get that. Now, I'm glad that they have a completely new differentiation for that. I'm not happy that it came from VoodooForDummies.com. Another thing that I noticed that was pretty damn cool in this film, which I hadn't noticed before, but definitely noticed on this watch, is that everybody is kind of like a gray, drab, kind of black, white, blue kind of tones. But you know who's not? Any of the Chuckys and Tiffany. Tiffany is bright ass red. Chucky is, Chucky colors. I like that there's a difference in that. And then on top of that, when you finally get the three Chuckys, you get Andy's Chucky, you get the dirty Chucky, and then you get Melty Hand Chucky. You get short hair. Dirty is all shit because he has this, back from the dead moment. And then you have the Melty Hand one. It was a really smart move to do that because once they get moving within the space, it's confusing on who's supposed to be where and how everybody kind of is in this film. But that then moves us right into the Madeline kill. Now we're going to talk about the Madeline kill because what we learn with the fact that she smothered her baby because the baby wouldn't stop crying. Very dark stuff. Very dark. Wasn't expecting that in a Chucky movie. Even when the first saw it, and I had kind of forgotten how she did it, what her craziness was. And then you have Chucky pop off his own arm, after reaching down and pulling some shit out of there, popping his own arm off and stuffing it down Madeline's throat to make it look like she killed herself. Again, this goes back to my problem with the selective anatomical correctness. You have these Chuckys that can bleed, that are human-esque, but then Chucky pops his own arm off and just has a normal doll socket there. What? Not long after that, you have Andy plunge his hand into the other doll that he had shipped there, so that he could pull a gun out of there and there's guts and shit in there. And then he shoots him and there's blood. And he shoots him and there's blood. But that doll has been a Chucky, a real Chucky, a Horcrux Chucky, or whatever the hell you want to call that. He's been that for not long, maybe like 10 minutes. So why is he bloody, but the other one can pop his arm off and fuck it, I'm done. Once you get those three Chuckies together, that's really when, for me, this film goes off the rails. It really does, because when you get the three Brad Dourifs talking to each other, the three Chuckies talking to each other, you bring back that goofy comedy. I don't like goofy humor in my Chucky films. I've said that endlessly in all of them. I don't like goofy humor. When Chucky is twisted, when he makes weird jokes, when he makes dark jokes, that's what I'm here for. But you have these, oh, who's going to go kill Andy? Oh, well, I got my hand melted. Oh, I was buried alive. Oh, I got my hair cut off. Oh, yeah, you look like shit. It's like, it's stupid. Stop it. They went into this film with a full head of steam from Curse. Curse was awesome. Curse went back. And then it's like Don Mancini got this idea that people like what I did. I can do whatever the hell I want again. But he kept it good. He kept it solid for the first chunk of it. I can give a little bit of wiggle room with voodoo, because do you know how voodoo really works? No. Do I? No. But when you get shit from voodooForDummies.com, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You don't care about this movie anymore. You're done. You're done. Chucky goes so hard from like dark, quippy humor to just his own comic relief. Almost gives you whiplash. Oh, and did you know that voodoo can apparently heal a T5 severed spine? And that person can then get up and walk in heels and have no muscle atrophy and completely not make sense in any way, shape, or form in terms of human anatomy. I will say one positive, absolutely, the kills. I like the kills in this film. I don't think there was one that I didn't really like. I like the Nica kill on Dr. Foley. I like that the cult has this da-da-da-da. They get a little ridiculous after that kill on Carlos where they stab each other. Again, they get that kind of like hokey humor. But you also have the kills on Angela, which we see off screen, but it's a psychological kill. You get the kill on Claire. You get the kill on Madeline. You get the gnarly-ass kill on Malcolm. You get very good kills in this film. I'm not sure which one is my favorite yet. I'd probably have to go back and watch them all again. But what is your favorite kill in this film? Hit the comments, let me know. There was more than a handful, and they were pretty damn varied. So you got a lot of options. Overall, I would say that Cult is a pretty solid follow-up to Curse. I have a lot of tropes about the last, I'd say, probably 15 minutes of the film. I don't really like the last 15 minutes of the film. You get some solid moments in there, but the last 15 minutes really just, they stopped caring. But leading up to that, you felt like they were going to handle the fact that you have the whole split identities and all this stuff going on. They gave a shit. They gave a shit as much as they gave a shit in Curse. And I liked Curse a lot. So I'd say this also probably stays where I would rank it in the whole series. I have a ranking coming. Just hold on for that. I'm not going to tell you where I put this one. But definitely the ranking is coming. And I know I just hit you with a question, but where do you rank this one? Is it top, bottom, middle? I doubt it's at the very top. I'd be very surprised. But if any of you out there, this is at the top, hit the comments, let me know, prove me wrong. And if you've missed any of my other Child's Play reviews, I have links to every single one of them in the description below, as well as my review for the 2019 remake. I've done them all. All the Chuckies are done. They've been reviewed. Go watch them all. That is going to do it for me for the Child's Play review series. Thank you so much for sticking with me through all of it. And if you are just catching me on this one, go back to one, work your way back up to this one. Thank you all so much for stopping by the Dave Cave. I'll see y'all real soon with that ranking. But until then, take care.